Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another Reddit story for you. This one is, am I the astronaut because I won't pay to continue housekeeping services for my wife? My wife is someone who has always had a housekeeper from a young age. When we first discussed moving in together before marriage, the division of chores was a hot topic. I was on team we can do it ourselves, and she wanted to keep using the housekeeping service she had. Ultimately, I had agreed to the housekeeping service after both of our parents told me it'd be easier to agree to make her happy. My only thing was that it was a service she was responsible for paying for. She started out having them come every other week, then once a week, to every other day to keep the house as clean as she liked it and do things like her laundry and emptying the trash in her hobby room. Mid-January, my wife was let go and her company downsized. She's been having a hard time finding a job in her field. For now, she's working part-time at retail. We weren't making amazing money before she was let go, but we live comfortably due in part to living below our means for the most part. Since her current job doesn't pay much, I said that I would cover all of our joint expenses. For example, mortgage, property tax, utilities, and our phones, so she doesn't have to deplete her savings, and our savings won't suffer as much either. She paid for the cleaning service in February, but then yesterday asked me if I was going to set up a direct pay with the cleaning company or transfer her the money to keep paying them. It's $190 a week. I told her neither. The housekeeping service was something that she wanted and was responsible for. If she can't afford it anymore without dropping her savings below a point she's comfortable with, then we don't need it. And I'm not going to pay for something two able-bodied adults are perfectly capable of doing themselves. We argued. She says I know how much she hates cleaning and that it stresses her out. And since the housekeeper cleaned up areas like the kitchen and living room and made the bed sometimes, I was benefiting from it, so it counts as a joint expense. I told her it doesn't count because I'm perfectly happy to clean up after myself and have cleaned rooms before when they needed it between visits. Fast forward to today, and she thinks I'm still being a jerk by not paying for it. Am I being an asshole anywhere here? Edited to add, I've been doing housework even with the housekeeper. I do my laundry, I make our bed most days, I clean up after our pets, clean the kitchen after we cook, and that includes the oven, stove, microwave. I take out the trash and recycling and clean the AC filters. I dust between visits. I'll sweep and clean the bathrooms between visits, clean up the shower and sinks after each use. I pick up after myself. Most of what the housekeeper does is already done by the time she shows up. If my wife is home, then it's her mess that gets cleaned up, or her clothes, plates, and items that she leaves around. The housekeeper also cleans her hobby room, does her laundry, and whatever else my wife asks. She's just used to having a daily cleaner due to her childhood. So the question here is, am I the astronaut because I won't pay to continue housekeeping services for my wife? Yeah, I mean, it's an NTA because you don't have the ability to sustain that right now. There's a blurry line between it being like a luxury and a necessity, right? She views it as a necessity because the way she's lived her life to this point, she always had that resource to be able to lean on. Now, I will say I advocated for a long time for Candy Thunder to let us bring someone in to help with cleaning stuff one day every other week. And she was extremely opposed to it for a long time. I finally won that battle, and now she says it's the best thing we've ever done in our life. Here's why. Obviously our lives are crazy hectic and busy, right? And that is a contrast here. So if they don't have kids, they have more time to be able to knock these kind of things out. But what gets triggered whenever you have a housekeeper or cleaning person coming is that you scramble and do a lot of cleaning yourself, so it creates some accountability on our end to be able to at least once every other week do a hurried round of cleanup and putting stuff away. We're more likely to keep things cleaner if that kind of thing happens. In their case here, they finally hit a point where they just can't sustain it. And if it's something that they can't afford, they can't afford. The flip side of that coin is, what is your time worth, right? I would actually have to do the math here. And I would say, okay, these are the tasks that this person is doing. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to try to do it myself for a couple months or whatever it is, and actually measure the time that it takes me, and then compare that to the amount that you pay for it and say, is my time worth more per hour doing something different? Can I be applying this time to actually focusing on something that makes money and save money essentially by letting someone else do this? There is that balance in there that has to happen at some point, and everybody's time is valuable. How valuable it is depends on a number of different factors, but I would mathematically have to evaluate it here. And OP's stance on it, that is just flat out, this is a luxury. This is a luxury that you got used to. I'm not paying to keep it going. I would actually do some scientific testing with. I would test out and see if it is mathematically worth it, or if it's something that is truly a luxury there. In which case, you can pause it and then come back whenever you're able to do it again. You can do that. So this is you got to get on the same page and have at least some kind of agreed approach here. Obviously, she doesn't like to do this kind of stuff, and that's okay. But OP, you have to understand that if you're saying no to this, that you're going to be picking up the slack on this kind of thing. So, and you can try to get her looped in on helping you do things too. Just expect a lot of opposition there. So you're an NTA here, but you're going to have a lot of opposition moving forward. And before you get firm on saying, hell no, this is definitely not something we're going to do, I would apply some math to it first and actually do some measuring and see if the time value in it is actually mathematically efficient for you to have someone else do it. And again, that depends on a lot of things. So yeah, not every other day. I mean, you could definitely cut, if she's to the point where she's got somebody come in every other day, but it started off every other week, time to kick it back to every other week. And you can do the in-between stuff for now, or once a month, or whatever it is. There needs to be some kind of adjustment there. There has to be a little bit of give and take from both sides here, right? She's in a pickle and knows that she's not making as much as she was. So there has to be some give on her end here. I also think on OP's end here, having this firm line of the sand and saying absolutely no way, there needs to be a little bit more thought put into to determine if it's something that it's something that they can actually do more efficiently. He says 2 able-bodied people can do this. Yeah, okay. Yeah, of course. 2 able-bodied people can also replace your roof, but you hire people to do that. So I'm just saying it's something worth evaluating a little bit closer and a little bit more critically before just saying just hard no, right? At least that's how I would approach it. Pretty darn yarn, but also she sounds kind of childish, but I don't want it because I don't like it. Agreed. And her background has everything to do with that, right? She's had help at home ever since she was a kid. And I'm sure that is a lifestyle that is hard to break. So there's going to be some shock to the system going on there, but that's also one of the harsh realities of the world, right? Like you can only afford what you can only afford. And at least OP has this pragmatic approach and is saying, look, if it's going to dip you below a point that you're comfortable with in your savings, then you've got to find a way to prevent that from happening. So it's got the foresight to say we need to cut these things out now. I think there might be a scenario here where it's more efficient than OP is thinking that it is, but that would require some testing.